This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the April meeting of the Harwich Golf Committee, and I'm pleased that it went smoothly today. I don't want to jinx it, but thanks again, everybody, and welcome to spring in Harwich. It will get warmer at some point in time. According to the governor's mandates and requests, this is, of course, a virtual meeting by order of the governor, and all those constraints apply in this case as advertised on the agenda. The electronic connections and protocols, were advertised in advance. So, invite guest Roman Greer, and also Ed McManus, who's going to be monitoring the meeting, I believe, today. I'll move right to the agenda, and in the consent agenda, just one item, the approval of the minutes from the March 16th meeting, and I would seek a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Okay, thank you. And a second, Martha Duffy. Motion by John Krug. Any discussion? Thank you. And just a shout out to Mike Sargent. I love the way he does his first version. Minutes. They're very concise and to the point. And also, I will be posting up the last several meetings, on our website, so that anyone that was concerned or wanted to share in the minutes could. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you. So we turn to Roman's director's report, and in particular, Roman has a lot to share. A lot of exciting things that took place, and I'm sorry, but it's my pet thing. I was enormously pleased to see the words "stump grinder" included in that report. I don't want to steal your thunder, Roman, so go right ahead.
Okay, thanks everybody, and welcome. Can everybody see the presentation I put on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, great. So I'll go quickly through the financials. You've all had a chance to review them. Does anybody have any questions or comments about any of the numbers on the spreadsheet? I'll point out, we'll get the annual pass numbers are very high, and I've got a slide on the next page to go over that. When we're having the fiscal year comparison, we're comparing obviously to the pandemic year and the shutdown, so the numbers are skewed a little bit. That at this time last year we were in shutdown and we weren't doing any business or any golf rounds or anything. We were in the spending freeze, so it's a little bit not a normal year to compare to. But that being said, I do think we are on pace for a banner year, pretty obviously.
Jack?
What does capital fee encompass?
Capital fee is the fee from annual passes that's separated to go into the golf improvement fund.
Okay.
Well, a couple particular things you'll see. The driving range for the year is doing particularly well. It's 73,000 plus already at this point. That's normally a annual year or a fiscal year total. So we're definitely going to set an all-time record by a lot on the driving range this year. And annual passes sales are really brisk as well. We're up in every category. So those are very strong numbers. We're obviously monitoring the expenses very closely as we've got a very tight budget.
Roman, could I ask a quick question?
Yes.
I understood, or I can't remember where the information came from, but is this a fairly true statement? There's been such a demand for golf by residents in various towns that I thought it was the town of Dennis has actually put a moratorium on new annual pass holder sales. Is that true?
That's true. I've been speaking with their director of golf many times over this past season, off season, to because they're making a lot of changes this year based on their incredible demand. They've pushed off their league plates every other week instead of every week, so that they've told their leagues to, they're only going to get about half the tee times they had in the past. And they have put a moratorium on new annual pass sales. They'll still accept any renewals, but they're not selling any new annual passes.
Well, I think that's a great message for our annual pass holders. We've been able to do some heavy lifting, and it's evidence, I think, of the impact or the stress that's being put on all towns as far as golf and tee times are concerned. So I just thought I'd point that out. Thanks for.
No, and Clement, they've also stopped accepting outing requests as well. So they're not holding any more new outings. They're only taking previously booked outings, and I think they cut those almost in half as well.
Wow.
But most towns are reacting in one way or another to the incredible demand, as we are. I think, as I've discussed with the town of Dennis's director of golf, we're giving away or we're giving annual pass holders more tee times than we ever have in the past. And Dennis has chosen not to do that. They're sticking firm with the 50-50 distribution, and they've chosen to go the route of no new annual pass sales instead of giving a higher distribution.
John Wheeler.
Just to that point, Roman, it's critical that we have a very tightly a tight message, a very tight message to the members relative to what you just said, because what the glory is, this from a financial standpoint, what I'm looking at is glorious. As a member, someone who would not be on the golf committee says, "Oh crap, I'm going to be less likely to get on the golf course than I was last year, and it was awful last year." So it's a perception, and that's going to be the reality for people who are members of Cranberry Valley.
I agree, John, and I think one thing that we'll take a look at next month's golf committee meeting when I present you the data, if our annual pass sales hit 1,200, I think we discuss, and it looks like they're going to go beyond 1,200, I think we discuss favoring the annual pass holder tee time distribution a little bit more. We go to another 5% swing to annual pass holder tee times this year because they'll be supporting that much more of our budget.
Thanks for the heads up on that.
So I think it's premature, even though the sales are on pace to be a new record for modern times. I think it's premature to really make that move at this point. But once we're approaching that 1,200 number, which will be exceeding our past numbers, I think it's worth discussing. And we've always said that if the annual pass sales begin exceeding previous years, well, let's look at the distribution and skew it accordingly.
Okay, Ron. Considerations for the spring and capital project progress.
Gotcha. So let me just show you. So these are the annual pass sales right now. You'll see the comparison to FY20 was a little bit of a different year because people weren't really purchasing annual passes at this time last year. But FY19 and 18 represent normal years, and we're blowing away the normal year numbers at this point. In new categories, especially if you look at Harwich new, Chatham new, we're seeing a lot of new annual pass sales.
Excellent.
Okay, and to keep going. So we have had some project progress. As I know I notified everybody on the committee, we signed a new golf cart lease with EasyGo on the 27th of March. I've got the terms here for the temporary fleet that we currently have. It's the exact same terms we had with the previous Yamaha fleet of 83 1/4, 16s and 3/4. And then we negotiated very good terms on the new carts, 60-40 in the town's favor. So I think that was a really good negotiation and a good lease for the town. And for the golf course, we've got a new fleet of 80 lithium elite golf carts with GPS and tow bars arriving by September 1st. And that includes 5 maintenance vehicles and 1 range vehicle.
Roman,
the charter grid, go ahead. Is there a comment?
Just a quick comment, Roman. Considering this new relationship with EasyGo, I'd like the committee's support to have me put a quick note out to the salesperson, I believe, Alex Stimson, that was involved in negotiating this lease. Roman, is that correct?
That's correct. It was with Alex, yes.
Yeah. What's the sentiment of the committee? I just think it would be good business, perhaps, to send this individual something. Maybe we don't need a motion, but if you're comfortable with it, I'll draft a letter and circulate it to the committee, and then if it's, if it works for everybody, I'll send it out.
Why would we do this, Roman? Clem, why?
I'm sorry, John?
Why would we do this?
I just think that I think there was a lot of pressure negotiation-wise to bring this to a conclusion. Maybe I'm naive, but Roman, what do you think?
Well, I don't know if it's necessary. I mean, I think Alex was wonderful to deal with. I think we got a really good deal with them. I mean, the negotiation started at 50-50 was their initial offer. And I don't want to say I beat them up on it totally, but we got very favorable terms for the town. And we're going to have a good relationship, a very strong relationship with EasyGo going forward. They've done a great job providing us with a temporary fleet, which I think you were alluding to, Clem, that required a lot of heavy lifting on Alex's part, because he had to go as far as New York to scour lots to get us a temporary fleet in place by April 1st. So I don't know. It's up to you if you would like to do anything, but I think they've been great to work with. If anything, I'd like to mention the work of our town procurement officer and engineer, Griffin Ryder, because he spent basically an entire week of his time working on this lease. So I think Griffin deserves a lot of commendation for this.
Well, again, I defer to the committee. If it's perceived as not necessary, fine.
I would think you'd want to wait to at least see how they perform.
Yeah, let's don't get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Is 9/1 a drop dead date?
What, John?
They're expecting them to be with us in August, but they will be there by 9/1.
Are these 2022 carts or 2021 carts, Roman?
We're expecting 2022, and if there's an opportunity for them to get a slot in production for 2021 carts before they retrofit their factory, they will provide us with 2021 carts, and we'll get them probably a month earlier.
Thank you.
Well,
It sounds like based on what Roman said, that Rick probably deserves some kind of a note from an acknowledgement from the golf committee that he, gave us that kind of support and attention at a critical time. So maybe that's where we ought to direct our appreciation at this point.
Thank you, Paul. I think that's a great idea.
I agree. I agree.
Okay. Perhaps we don't need a motion. I mean, there seems to be consensus. I'll draft a note to Griffin Ryder, and Roman, thanks for that insight. Okay.
you're welcome.
Okay, and the Charger grid.
So the Charter Grid bid is to be awarded tonight at the Selectmen's meeting. As I told the committee, it was scheduled for last week, but that meeting was called off or was postponed. So that's in front of the Selectmen tonight for award, as well as the landscape projects change order number 2, which will do a lot of the lighting and irrigation and planting the plant materials to finish off the landscape project. We originally planned to do that with our staff, but we plan to do that in the off season, and our staff hours are all dedicated to the golf course at this point. And so the project is on budget. We do have the money in the budget to do it. So I recommended that we go ahead and Bowditch is available to do the work. I recommended that we go ahead and accept that change order and have them just bang out the job instead of taking staff hours away from the golf course. So that's in front of the Selectmen tonight.
Excellent. Excellent.
The solar project is awaiting a contract amendment before it goes live. We're expecting that any day now. So that we should begin earning electric credits anytime now. And then as far as security goes, we'll install a solar powered gate at the entrance. Sean and I have been looking at options there. It turns out that anything hardwired would be over $10,000. We're not that sure how well a solar powered gate will work, but the money's pretty short. So we're going to go ahead and try a solar powered gate at the entrance and give that a shot. If it turns out it's not working up to our standards, we may need to put that in a plan to dedicate more funds to it. But the fact that there's no electricity currently at the gate is going to make that project fairly expensive. So we're going to purchase and install a solar power gate at the entrance. And then, as I said, the security cameras will be installed as well once the electric hookup is finalized.
Tell Sean I think that's a great approach, Roman.
Okay. Good.
Okay.
And then moving on, I just provided with you information on the change order number 2 and the charter grid, and then a note about the hot stove.
Hey, Roman, if I can interrupt for 1 minute?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
On the charger grid, I think I saw somewhere where the bids range from 85,000 down to 35,000, and we accepted the $35,000 bid.
Yes.
Do you feel comfortable with that that can do the job?
I do. You know, as far as the procurement went, my job was to do all the reference checks on the company. The reference checks came back very strong. I spoke with 8 different companies that have worked with, that were all provided as references, that had all done projects with commercial electric systems, and the references were very strong. So after doing those reference checks, I do feel comfortable.
And my second question would be on the gate, on the solar powered gate. When is that going to be installed then?
We hope to do that over the course of the next month. We need to purchase it and install it still, but I was just going to present that to the committee. Sean and I have been shopping those over the past week or so. So I'm expecting in the next, hopefully by next golf committee meeting, I'll report that it's installed.
Okay.
Roman,
Yes, Jack.
maybe it's a procedural question. Has the selectmen authorized the town administrator to be able to sign off on anything?
Yes, so the town administrator can sign off on contracts under $50,000, I believe.
Okay, then why is that changing for the,
Yeah, so there are contractual items that I'm not exactly sure, Jack. There are contractual items, some items like, you know, even our $9,900 lease with the hot stove has to go before the selectmen because that's a lease, and leases all have to go. I believe change orders have to go to the selectmen as well.
okay.
Okay, and then so I did mention the hot stove. I think everybody knows where the hot stove stands. We signed a 1-year lease with the hot stove for $9,900 for that 1 year. The Board of Selectmen are going to sign that lease tonight, but they gave the go-ahead for Ron to already begin preparing because they had already commented in executive session with the town administrator on negotiations with that. So it was safe to say that it's just going to be procedural that they sign that lease. So that's great. I'm happy to have Ron back for another year, and the hot stove will open on Thursday.
Question?
Yes.
When I talked with Ron yesterday, he said he was having difficulty getting help, specifically a cook.
Yes.
Any progress on that?
No, I don't believe so. And I mean, I think if you talk to any restaurant in town, in the state, in the country, possibly, I mean, the restaurants are really having a hard time staffing. He needs a line cook. We've told him, he said he'll train the right individual. I've communicated with him that we'll kick him any resumes or applications we get that we can't use for golf, but chances are he's going to be short-staffed because I think there's still too much incentive for line cooks and people in general to stay home and collect unemployment is really what he's finding. So it's a difficult job market.
Wow. So that tells me that April 22nd could be at risk.
Well, it's really up to him how he wants to operate it. He's told me he's gonna be open. I think what it comes down to is if he's gonna end up paying his current staff overtime, because he does have cooks. It's just a matter of having enough so that he doesn't have to pay overtime and such like that. So I think he does have staff. It's just it's not the optimum level.
Okay.
Roman, this is Jack again. What's the implications for next year? Do we have to go through a whole other lease next year again?
Yes, we will.
Yeah.
There's an
Roman,
opportunity, I believe, to, you know, the town may look to bundle the leases for the harbor and the golf course into one. I don't know. There's been discussions about that. Ron in our negotiations mentioned that he was more interested in doing 1 year at a time for personal reasons.
Okay, so it's another RFP and another so on and so forth for next year.
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'll keep moving here. So quickly, these are quick items. Pro shop upgrades, the back counter and the shoe cabinet are due to arrive in the next few weeks. On Thursday, 4/22, sorry, that's a misprint. Shoreline Media will be at the golf course to shoot video for our new spots on Comcast and the website and social media. That's fairly exciting for me because our budget has been so tight and frozen in some levels that we haven't done all the advertising we used to do. So that's going to kind of reopen the gates with advertising. So that should be good for the golf course's exposure. As far as COVID-19 protocols, we're going to continue to offer single rider carts on request. That's not mandated by the state, but I've been discussing that with our health director, and we just think that's a good situation to be in. We hope people won't take advantage of it and have a foursome show of all in the same car and then say they don't feel comfortable riding in golf carts with each other, so they all want separate carts. I'm hopeful that doesn't happen and it really comes to the case which we are sympathetic to, where a single gets paired with another group and has to share a cart with somebody maybe they're not comfortable sharing with. All tournament food will be served on course as far as box lunches in order to comply with the restaurant seating limits. That's a plan developed by Ron, and he's pretty excited about it. We just can't do what we did in the old days as far as having 120 people pack into that small space and have a post-shotgun outing or a ceremony. And then green aeration was completed on April 6th and 7th. As I heard earlier, the golf course is in great shape. I heard those comments. It's bouncing back very nicely this spring. And a new stump grinder has been purchased by the town. It's being shared by the departments, and we will have it on our property this week to take care of a few specific stumps that we have marked.
Hey.
We've already dedicated it for 2 months in the off season, where we're going to probably put Rob Donovan on it just to go around the whole golf course like he did a few years ago.
That's it's exciting stuff, Roman. Roman, just 2 quick questions that I had. Regarding Shoreline Media, do they have any plans to incorporate a drone passover of some of our newer constructions, for example, the solar field and the new cart barn?
Yes, I requested that exact thing, yes.
Oh, perfect. Because I think those are tremendously dramatic. And one comment about food service, from the hot stove, something that I feel as though Ron has not capitalized on, and other courses have gone this route. An outside grilling station, I think, would be enormously successful. I'm not up there enough. Maybe the committee can react to that, but they've been very successful in other venues, as I understand it. So, any comments there?
I think Clem, that would be a home run. I mean, I think that's the way to go, especially now in the COVID situation. Outdoors, quick,
right?
Grab it.
I think the smell too.
Yeah, it's the psychology of those grilled burgers wafting in the air.
Exactly.
And Roman, one last thing. If Sean needs the help, I have spray paint. I would be glad to mark stumps for elimination. I'm volunteering my time. I'm just kidding.
We got them. Right now, we're not gonna do a large stump grinding mission right now because our staff is all dedicated to spring maintenance. But we will have that thing in the fall. Rob Donovan will have it for 2 months, and we'll get rid of every stump on the property.
I'll tell you, as far as the committee is concerned, seriously, folks, when that does get on property, it's an interesting piece of machinery. That back in my New York life, there were a lot of logging companies that use this company. It's called Vermeer, and it's It's an outstanding piece of equipment. Roman, thank you. Any other
Yeah, from what I hear,
comments?
Clem, it's going to take longer to get it off the truck than it will to grind the stumps.
I know. It's big time. Any other comments on Roman's presentation?
Yeah, I have one. I think, Roman, I think for the next month, you might not have a problem with the single rider carts, but once we get into May and around Memorial Day, I think you're going to have a problem. I think we're going to have to eliminate that single rider.
Well,
Bill.
we did put, I agree, John, we did put based on availability. So it's not going to be guaranteed. It's going to be based on availability so that we don't run out of carts. So I agree. You know, we've discussed with the health director, we've had a number of instances already, like I mentioned, where golfers are just telling us, I'm not comfortable pairing up with a stranger who I don't know if has been vaccinated or not. And so there's a lot of those situations going on. I hope that start going away. But at this point, our health director supported the idea of not forcing that issue if people do have concerns. That being said, if it does turn out we don't have the availability, I mean, nobody's making them play golf, and we have walking carts available so people can always walk with push carts. So I agree. We're not going to stand too strong with that. We're just going to offer it as they're available.
And maybe,
Martha?
if they want single carts, we charge them more.
Yeah, some courses are doing that.
Martha?
I know, Clem, down here in a lot of courses, they have, Roman have put up plastic shields that can be detached or attached. And that has worked very well here.
Wow.
I've seen those when I've played golf at courses that have those. We chose not to purchase them. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't know if that's going to be something that because that was required last year for two rider carts. It's no longer required.
Okay. Any other comments?
Question.
This will allow us to move on to new business and our
Oh,
marquee-
Clem, Steve's trying to get a word in here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. I lost you on my screen here. Sorry, Steve.
A question on the Shoreline Media and an overall advertising budget. How much do we spend?
So we normally have a $45,000 advertising budget. It's something that it was frozen last year, and you know, because the budget is so tight this year, I've been hesitant to spend up to that number because we are over budget on other lines in the budget. So we've probably spent, off the top of my head, I'd say we spent $22,000 or so to this point in the year.
Do you think we need to spend any more of it based on the fact that business is booming? I mean,
Well, I do, because I think, you know, you always have, I mean, there are certain rules. I mean, a lot of golf courses go by the rule that 6% of your, you know, annual sales should go back into advertising. You got to keep your name out there, because right now there's a windfall, but there may not be. I mean, the people that are viewing our commercial today may be next year's tee times or next year's members. So I do think it's important to keep your name out there.
I agree.
okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Roman. You got to stay fresh in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Okay, if we can move on to our marquee presentation. John Wheeler has done a lot of work behind the scenes, and I think it's important, people, it's your prerogative certainly, but John supplied us with documentation that showed all the responses from the different people regarding our vision statement, and that's very much appreciated. So John, to you.
I need to be able to share my screen, Clem. I'm not sure how to do that with GoToMeeting. I know Zoom, but not here.
John, I can help. If you look on if you move your mouse around, and on the bottom bar where there's microphone, camera, the third option is screen. If you click that, that's the share screen button.
Ah, there we go. Okay, can you see now my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, because I can see a portion of my screen. Okay, let me see if I can get this moved over or something. Okay. I want to first of all say thank you so much to everybody on the committee. I put out a set of objectives for what we're trying to accomplish and tried to provide some guidance as to how to approach this. And you folks came up in spades. So, and in fact, you went above and beyond what I asked for, and I'll never complain about that. So, so it made my job easier in the sense of taking all these descriptors and these draft statements and consolidating them into 4 statements, which we will use as the basis for conversation this afternoon. So thank you first of all for that. I just need to change one thing here on my screen so I can see my screen. Roman, how do I get the whole? I want to see my whole screen here, and I'm looking at all of you folks. Maybe that works. Oh, I got it. Never mind, I got it. Okay. So I know that, I'm going to go back to Vision Statement 101 here, okay, and then we can build from there. I'm not going to read all of this, but I some key points I want to make. I think that certainly we're an organization that would like to achieve something in the future which is better than what we have now, and so this provides a way for us to concisely state what that actually is. And I think that the picture that I draw is one of, I consider the vision statement to be a target, so that we're shooting for. And it should paint a vivid picture of what we will look like at a future point in time. In this case, we've agreed on a 5-year period. And I have no illusions that we're going to hit the bullseye. But I'm convinced that if we have something which is a vivid picture of what we want to look like at some point in the future, in this case 2026, it's going to help us to focus our events, our activities, everything that we do toward achievement of that vision. So again, that's the reason why you see the word vivid picture, okay, highlighted on the screen. Again, we've assumed a 5-year period, which is typical for these kinds of exercises, and we're talking about 2026. I asked you to identify a list of words and phrases that describe what we will be in 2026, and you did that in spades. I'm not going to read them all, but again, our vision statement, where I come from, my schooling, okay, is that we state it as if we are already there. Because we move toward that, what we visualize, and we're going to assume that we're there now, so that everything we do from this point on is going to help us to move from where we are to where we want to be. 5 requirements that I typically throw or put together with these kinds of exercises. Number 1, it's got to be forward-looking. Okay, that's a duh. We all know that. Okay, it's got to be tightly aligned with the mission, values, goals, and objectives. And I think John Crook has said that well, and has done a great job in terms of each of those four components. So we need to make sure that they are driving us toward achievement, realization of this vision. Because if they're not, they can drive us fast in the wrong direction. So we got to make sure we continue to have alignment between these things. A key point is that progress, it has to be our progress toward moving from where we are to where we want to be has to be measurable. So things like, we're going to have the best golf course on Cape Cod. Nice, but not sufficient. We're going to have the most user-friendly golf course on Cape Cod. Okay, if we can measure it, that's great. If we're going to improve, okay, to up to a point, customer satisfaction instrument that says we're going to be at 98.5% satisfaction as of 2026, and we're at 80% now. Now it's sufficient because we can measure the progress. So glorious words that are very flowery are nice. They read well, but they're not what we're looking for here. Next thing is, I talked before about this vision statement being 50 words or less, and I'm going to show you those 4 the draft versions, and none of them satisfy that criteria. Another point is this vision statement is we need to consider it as a living statement or a living document, because the world changes, our world changes. We don't even know all the things that are going to change, and so therefore there may be a need as we continue this progress, this trip, if you will, from where we are to where we want to be, to sit back and say something has changed structurally that might want to make us change this vision statement. So I don't want anyone both inside the committee or outside in the community thinking this is the de facto vision statement that we will not change it. It's cast in concrete. No, it's not. It's not. So we need to continue to be aware of that. I have a question. Is there any questions thus far?
No.
No?
Okay. I want to read something that I did not include in this, okay, from my statement where I sent out the draft, the 4 versions of the vision statement. And it is as follows. And again, this hits at these requirements. I believe the addition of the benefits by Cranberry Valley to the town adds marginally to the statement. That said, it reconfirms the larger issue of what a healthy, well-managed facility generates for the town. So in some ways, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth at the same time, so I'm not sure where the net of that is. But one additional comment that I do think is critically important. All of these statements include descriptors of what we already have to a large degree at Cranberry Valley. I still question whether we might add that we don't have now but want to achieve by 2026, add something to each of these statements. So I don't think we're there yet. I'm under no illusions that we are, and I believe this is going to be a work in progress. And so with that, on those requirements, I want to move forward. I'm going to show you 4 documents and 4 statements. These are the 4 that I sent out before. And 1 and 3 are similar, and 2 and 4 are similar. I believe that, yeah, that's right. The difference between them is that one focuses on the benefits to the town. I think that's 3 and 4, whereas 1 and 2 don't have that statement in there. I'm not going to read all of these, but I think we can skim through these, and I would challenge all of us, including yours truly, to say, are there descriptors in here of things, either conditions or structures or events or something about Cranberry Valley that we do not have now, that with good work, good focused work, that we can achieve by 2026.
Okay, John.
And I can throw in an example of this, okay? As the premier municipal public golf course on Cape Cod, Cranberry Valley delivers a superior experience for players of all abilities and ages. A destination where members of the community and so on and so forth and also to enjoy golf on a regionally top-rated Audubon Sanctuary golf course. In that first statement, I'll throw out an open question. Which parts of this statement do we not have already?
Audubon
John.
Sanctuary.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. So I'm going to highlight
John,
that, okay? Audubon Sanctuary.
The key there, John, is that by 26, I think, Martha, you'd agree with me, there's no reason why we can't be, and this is the important word, fully certified as an Audubon Sanctuary golf course. As it stands right now, we have a relationship, but we are not fully certified.
Okay.
That's correct.
What is it going to take for us to get certified?
Well, a lot of it had to do with the cart barn being built and all of the capital improvements. And Sean felt with all of that was going on that we could not go forward to get it certified. I feel
I think it's
this would be our best year to go forward.
I think it's a great addition to the vision statement because it is something we want to achieve. I do know one setback we've had is, if you remember, when we were heading towards the Audubon certification, one of their key requirements is that you send them the documentation that you're using more organic programming and such. And with our current budgetary restrictions, we have not been able to move in that direction towards more organic programming. So I think it's great for the vision statement. That is a goal for us, but it'll require the loosening on the budget in that one particular regard, so that we can move forward with a more organic program.
Anything else in version? So that I've highlighted that in yellow, which I think you should see. You can see. Anything else in version 1 or version that we don't have already?
I don't think we have an award-winning restaurant. I think with COVID and what we have to work with, I don't think it's an award-winning restaurant. I wouldn't define it that way.
Okay. We have an award-winning youth program.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
And actually, that's plural, John. That should be youth programs, because there are several that we're involved with not just within the community, but also externally, the drive, chip, and putt competition. And Roman, you could elaborate if you would.
Yeah, it includes PGA Junior League, the First Tee program. You're right, there's many programs.
All right. Anything else there?
You know,
Let's
John, when I
move
take
to-
a look at version
Go ahead,
one,
John. John, go ahead.
when I take a look at version one,
Yep.
other than the one that you highlighted with the Audubon Sanctuary Golf Course, most of the other stuff is a repeat almost of our mission statement. So, I mean, if we want to get specific in the vision statement, it's the things that we want to work on for the next 5 years that are going to improve the Cranberry Valley experience. And I think we have to be a little bit more specific.
Okay. Good point.
That's a good point, Jim.
John, I don't think any of that stuff is measurable.
I agree with you. That's what I call fluff. And I mean, it's good stuff, but by the nature of the fact that it's not measurable, then other than a mention, for example, in Golf Magazine, which doesn't hurt, it's just not measurable. At least the progress toward something.
You know, I think when you take a look at the junior programs that you mentioned there, we
Yep.
can be a lot more specific there because we can make specific improvements in the PGA junior program, the First Tee, the Youth on Course program that we have. And
Yep.
then also to tie into that would be our long-term picture of developing the 3-hole short course in the putting green. I mean, those are things that are all kind of concentrated around the junior golf initiative.
And those things, to me, John, would go in the goals and objectives.
Well, I mean, I think we have to be specific. We have to lay out the vision of what we want to do and then be specific in how we want to do it in the goals.
Okay, so let me just put there, so that would be what again, John?
Well, you have the Romans program, which is a PGA junior golf program, right, Roman?
Yes.
Then you have, I know we're taking a much bigger stance right now in the First Tee because Cranberry Valley is going to be one of the destinations on the Cape for First Tee, if I'm not correct.
Correct.
Then we have the Youth on Course, which is a program where young kids can play on the golf course for a very nominal fee.
Okay.
And then I think we're participating in that, aren't we, Roman?
Yes, we sure are.
And then on top of that, we have the high school programs too. I mean, I think we should be involved in the high school program and making that kind of stronger if we can.
Okay.
And then I think the thing that was all driven, we came to the first conclusion, well, maybe about 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Clem, but that's when we came up with the idea long term of how we develop a short course for
Right.
youth to get really involved in the game, and then also a putting green.
Yep. Putting complex, that's correct.
I think all those things kind of tie together under junior golf, expanding the junior golf program at Cranberry Valley,
Okay.
and really reaching out to our the youth in the town to get them interested in the game of golf. And it's a worthwhile objective only because if you get the kids playing golf at an early age, hopefully long term it will generate more, memberships at Cranberry Valley and a lasting love of the game, which is really what we're trying to accomplish with junior golf.
Okay. So what I'm, oh, go ahead, Martha.
I felt, John, that the vision is a short, like you had said previously, 2 or 3 sentences that give you the vision of Cranberry Golf Course in Harwich, the vision. What you see. I see the junior program. That's almost a separate vision. That's a vision of what our junior golf program is for Harwich. Cranberry Golf Course. I think if you continue in this vein, your vision is going to be way too long.
So I have maybe a different, aren't these, like the PGA Junior program, Source T, and et cetera, aren't these the measurables that we could use if we can categorize that in some way? I mean, if you have to list everything there, John, you're certainly not gonna make 50 words. And I guess to me that what these things are the measures of whether we're successful in achieving something. And what that something is, I don't, maybe it's the award-winning youth programs. But to me, the junior program, has to have 60 people or, grow it by 60 people a year. But those seem to be the measurables of some categorization.
I tend to look at the specifics like PGA, First Tee, Youth on Course as being goals and objectives that are measurable, and they defined the award-winning youth programs, so that if in fact we deliver on those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items, then we will have achieved the vision of having an award-winning youth program set of programs. Like comprehensive award-winning. I might even throw comprehensive award-winning youth programs.
Right, I would agree with that. I mean, it seems like the actual programs that we're identifying are the measurable part of it.
Any other comments? I can't see you. I don't have your screen showing, so I can't tell if anybody's got their hand up. So, and let me go on, okay? Because again, we'll be circling this back, okay? If we move to version number 2, that's just a different statement. And is there anything in version 2? See, I tended to compare version 1 versus version 2. I like the words, okay, that were submitted, okay, contributed on this one as well as this one. I said, rather than pick one, I'd throw both of them out there, and perhaps we can merge the two of them. Now,
John, I like in the version 2 the word user friendly. I think a lot of what we're trying to do in our operation is make things more user friendly, more customer friendly. So I think that's something maybe difficult to measure, but I do think that's a good word to strive for, making it more customer or user friendly.
do we have a baseline as to where we stand now relative to the driving range and how user friendly it is?
Well, I think, I like that word for the entire operation, but I think user-friendly on the driving range, we achieved that to some degree by allowing customers to purchase their golf balls with using credit cards. I think we can go further, though. I think there's technology available to make our whole driving range experience much more user-friendly. I think I mentioned it at the meeting last month, that there's a lot of technology out there for if we redid the shed there, it would make it more customer friendly, more operationally friendly, and then there could be some opportunities to use technology where, say, range members who currently have to go to the pro shop to get their token allocation, they could plug in a number on a keypad and it would track their range ball usage as a member. So there are a number of technologies we can use to make the range more user friendly.
Okay.
And Roman, to that point of user friendliness, something that I've advocated for quite a while now. We could look at the possibility of solar-powered lighting to extend the range of the day, no pun intended. But that, along with another thing that I know there's a mixed feeling about this, but currently we use range balls of very good quality, et cetera, but considering the size of our range and its limitations, if you're, if you're really looking at it objectively, limited flight balls might be a possibility to incorporate, at the range, and there might be some benefits there. How would you feel about that?
I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah. I know that at Cape Cod National, limited flight balls are not popular at all, but, we have some size limitations that, might necessitate that kind of direction to take. I don't know.
Any other input from the committee on that? On limited range balls that I've highlighted? I personally don't like them at all.
Not a good idea.
I don't like them.
No,
I know.
not part of the vision.
Okay, keep getting creative. No idea is a bad idea. Seriously.
Well, another one, John, up at, as it stands now, to my understanding, on the Cape, there's only one facility, and that's down at Sandwich Hollows, that has a 4-season golf instruction, I'll call it complex. I know that's a little bit ambitious, but that might be a possibility as well, for our teaching staff and/or Bob Miller, et cetera, so that especially in those shoulder months, people that are going down south in November that might want to get some video lessons, or in a heated, open compartment. I'm just thinking out loud, that might be a possibility.
Roman, has, in your conversations with Bob Miller, has he brought up this notion of having this as opposed to what he has over at Kingsway?
No, he has not. We've talked about this for a number of years. I do question, if it'd be worth the investment if there is that much activity. But I think it would add to our facility. It might give us an opportunity to charge more in the future. In 5 years, in 3 years when Bob Miller's current lease is up. It may give us an opportunity to charge more for rent for that license if we had a four-season facility. I would do research with Sandwich Hollows first and see. And I mean, Jane Frost, their teaching pro, she's a real destination for people to take lessons. She brings people in from off Cape, but it would increase traffic at our facility. I don't know if it would be worth the investment, but I wouldn't get in the way of pursuing it and at least looking into it and seeing if it was worth it.
So is all of this what we just talked about under the umbrella of being more user-friendly, or what?
I think it would be.
Okay. Let me ask the question a different way. The notion of being progressive and always trying to keep ahead of the curve. Would this enable us to do that?
I would say yes. I think it's, as it stands competitively, there's just, there's no one that could offer that kind of opportunity, at least that I see. I mean, in the neighborhood, you've got captains, across town in Brewster, and I mean, I don't even know how that works. I guess it's a machine across the street or whatever, but there just is no complex like ours in a municipal operation that I'm aware of.
If I could mention one thing, so I think the solar lighting for the range and the four-season teaching facility are good ideas that are worth exploring. Again, I don't know if they're worth the investment. Based on the financials I showed earlier, the range is killing it. And I don't know, John, what you would put this under, if it would be under more user-friendly, but I think that we need to address some staff-friendly operations down there. And as I was alluding to, with a new shed and a place where the ball picker actually drives up to the shed and there's elevators inside the shed, I'd like to see an investment in the back end of the range, which would make the experience better for the customers, better for the staff, allow us to continue growing our range business in a much easier way. I think that's needed because that old shed with those machines in it. I think we need some expansion down there. You know, if you'd probably cringe if you saw what it takes to get a bushel of golf balls into the back of one of those ball hoppers. It requires carrying the heavy bushel up a step ladder of 3 steps that any one of our staff members could lose their balance carrying one of these heavy bushels and miss a step and break a knee and, you know, whatever. So I think that is a worthwhile investment that wouldn't require market research, but I think it's something we should be looking into dedicating. And as far as the vision goes, for me, that's an important part of the vision would be upgrading the back of house infrastructure for the driving range.
Okay.
Roman, if I could piggyback on that, I mean, for the benefit of the committee, I mean, believe it or not, we don't even have power out at that building that's over in the teaching area. Correct, Roman?
That's correct.
So, I mean, you know, when you're talking about a 5-year window, John, for, you know, a vision of the future, I mean, to me, that certainly limits, you know, the user friendliness of the facility.
What runs the ball machine if we don't have electricity, Roman?
Clem's talking about the teaching side of the range. Bob Miller just recently
Bob Miller.
bought a nice Mercedes van where he's going to handle this. You know, he's going to handle basically what Sandwich Hollows handles in a very nice modern facility. He's chosen to purchase a van to do the same thing, to be able to offer technology in his lessons and such, because we don't have electricity there and we don't have a 4-season building. That he's handling it in that manner. But we do have electricity at the ball machine, just not over on the teaching side of the range.
Okay, all right. If we move to look at version 3, and versions 3 and 4, and I put them up on the screen now, they talk about all the things we just shared in versions 1 and 2, but they add in a dimension through continuous investment. The course stays in superior condition while maximizing the benefits it generates for the town of Harwich. So we have this issue of contribution to the town of Harwich. We have the issue of sustainability, which also is a benefit to the town of Harwich. And so I'm just curious as to whether that's something that we should be including in this in some form or fashion. I don't have the ideal words here, but I'm just curious.
I love the word sustainability, because sustainability is measurable. And I think I alluded to 2 areas. One, environmental sustainability, and the other was financial sustainability, that, you know, virtually, you know, it's not maybe achievable in 5 years, but our actual, you know, because this question has come up through the committee, Jack Conley's alluded to this several times, the fact that we have chargebacks and realistically, money-wise, with some of the debt retired, et cetera, Roman, I think you and I have discussed this, that goal of financial sustainability, I think, is, you know, has a lot of merit. Did you speak to that, Ron?
Yeah, I think that's the goal we've been heading to with our rates and fees, and I think it exposes the golf course when you know, the fully allocated costs show numbers that are large in the red. I think, as we've mentioned at this golf committee level, we're within, based on what you just said, Clem, because we're retiring some old debt, and based on our current level of business and our current rates and fees and where they could be going, I think we're probably 2 to 3 years from being break even, you know, in our fully allocated costs. And I think that's important for the golf course, because that'll really make us bulletproof as far as any type of criticism or requirements.
Okay.
Yeah, Steve.
I for the life of me still just can't understand that though, Roman. I mean, when you look at the spreadsheet that you had in your director's report, if we simply hold to projections based on what we've done so far this fiscal year, if the total expenses that you showed on that spreadsheet are the total expenses, we're going to make $500,000 profit this year. I mean, it's math, and that's what it says. And so A, I don't understand it, and B, when you look at, when we go, referring back to the vision statement, if you look at 3 and 4, they're contradictory to one another. One implies that we're minimizing the impact, the financial impact to the town of Harwich, which means by default, it assumes that we need to get funding from the town of Harwich beyond our revenue. And the other one says maximize the benefits it generates to the town of Harwich, which is that we would bring in more than we would spend, and we're contributing to the town of Harwich. And A, so they're contradictory, and B, we need to understand what our principles are when it comes to the financials. Are we trying to be a moneymaker for the town, or are we trying to simply break even by reinvesting every dollar that we can based on the revenue generated into the golf course and improving the golf course and the experience at the golf course? They're two fundamental different things. But anyways, I still don't understand why we're 2-3 years away based on the spreadsheet we went through in the director's report.
Well, the thing, you know, Steve, you and I have had discussions on this. There are no employee expenses attributed to that spreadsheet at all. The town chooses to do the employee costs, lump them together. So on that spreadsheet under expenses, there's no employee costs, there's no post-employment costs, no insurance costs. So, and if you know, in the municipal world, those are very expensive numbers. And there's also no debt. There's no debt, and those are direct annual expenses. So they don't include our debt service as well. So, you know, when we do see, I know I've shared with you the fully allocated sheet that is a part of the town finance director's budget presentation. It still shows us in the red.
Roman, shouldn't that be what we're seeing in your report rather than this abbreviated version?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Jack. What's that?
If that's the case, should we be not seeing should that not be what you present versus the abbreviated version that you currently present?
Well, I mean, you know, maybe in a perfect world, I don't want to. These are what I present to you is the numbers that I have control over. That's what is in my reporting. So I create those reports in-house. That's what I have in my hands. I don't get bills for employees beyond payroll. I don't get post-employment benefits. I don't get insurance bills. I don't get any of that stuff. That's part of the finance director's annual budget, and the town lumps every department's funding for those together. So I'm sure I could maybe find a way to guesstimate those costs, but those are not numbers that I deal with. Those are not expenses that I sign off on or anything like that. What I present to you is strictly the budgetary numbers that I deal directly with.
Roman, would we envision a day where we generate sufficient revenues from all aspects of Cranberry Valley to cover the employee allocated costs and any of the direct costs from debt service? And is that something that, if that is possible, is that something we should shoot for some point in the future?
I think that's a vision. You just mentioned the vision. I mean, I think that that's what I think we're heading towards. Is, you know, there's no profit in the municipal world. We're not allowed to use the word profit, where we can't charge more than it costs us to operate. But what I think is, if we find that break-even number, and then we're also continuing to feed money while we break even, we're also feeding our dedicated funds. That allows us to, and then we can raise our rates and fees to continue feeding those funds as needed. That allows us to put whatever money we need to back into the golf course. I think that's the vision. The vision is to be, as Clem said, sustainable. I'd call that sustainability, is if we covered all of our costs perfectly and then also fed our funds so that we accomplished the goals we want to accomplish with our dedicated funds.
Okay, if I stated this correctly, Roman, should generate sufficient revenues to cover all costs, which would be employee, benefits, debt service, and operating expenses. Have I said it right?
I think that's a great vision. That's the vision that I think you just wrote down, the vision that I would follow. Yes.
Okay, so from a financial standpoint, okay.
John, if you get into that level of detail, though, as far as specifics, I mean, I think Clem used the word is financial sustainability a better description, and financial sustainability would mean cover the costs of employee benefits, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see how you're going to fit this whole thing in 50 words.
Oh, I'm not. I'm just taking notes now. I plan to restructure this thing, okay, and come back to you guys with notes I'm taking from this thing with key phrases. And I agree with you.
John, back to the other component of sustainability regarding the environment, and Roman just alluded to it. In the world of chemical fertilizer applications, there's a whole new generation of products out there that are I think vitally important to our vision. And in particular, it's not chemical based, but the USGA has spent a lot of time alluding to this. I've talked to John Crook about this with his involvement down in Florida at a club he belongs to, and this is measurable. And what I'm getting at is water allocation, water resource allocation. It's vitally important to our operations going forward because there's a lot of pressure on resources, especially here on the Cape, and I think it would be incumbent on us to give that some exposure. It's a very progressive, I think, direction to take, but one out of necessity. The town itself, as it gets more involved in the sewer and watering, for the entire town, it's an enormous undertaking, and it would be a nice feather in our cap to be able to, Roman, stand alone or stand up and say, hey, we're borderline self-sufficient when it comes to the use of, these natural resources. So I just throw that out as comment.
Martha, would this environmental sustainability equate to the Audubon certification?
It does, Jack. It meshes well. That's a good point.
Okay.
I also think that first portion of that last sentence in both 3 and 4 that starts off with continuous investment, because that's something that this course is doing on numerous levels, and it's critical to send the message that in the future we're going to continue to do that in order to maintain this this type of environment that we're looking for. I think that's an important message to send, and there may be a more artful way of describing it, or there may not be, but I think you've got to give the indication that, in addition to sustainability, we realize the need to keep this course moving along, whether it's replacing irrigation. We had some discussion in the PGA Tour last summer about, moving certain tee boxes, et cetera. Always kind of tweaking and improving and making it more user-friendly, frankly.
Excellent point, Paul. John, we're coming up on 7 minutes left that I allocated for your time frame.
You're giving me good food for thought here, and something that I can craft, okay, then bring back to you. And but I like that last statement because that came from something else, and so I call it the power of groupthink, which is great. So anything else in 3 and 4, by the way, what you see, because those are more benefits to Harwich.
I just got one comment. Sorry, I blacked out for a while because I lost my connection.
Yep.
But in terms of the financial sustainability and stuff like that, I think we have, as you said at the beginning of the conversation, John, this is a living document.
Yes.
And I think right now, what we have to do is have a document on things that we can control. And I think one of our short-term goals that we've talked about for about a year is to bring the finance director into one of our meetings to talk about finances. So a lot of the points that Steve brought up and so forth, I mean, we get into the nitty-gritty of the weeds if we want. But I mean, in the meantime, I think we have to control the things that we have control over. And that's basically the finances that are shown to us monthly by Roman. And I think those are the things that we have to deal with right now. I mean, that's how we're making a contribution right now. And I agree wholeheartedly with Paul's comment about continuous investment, because just think of what we've done. If we hadn't developed all these golf improvement budgets that we have and the infrastructure budgets, over the last 5 years, we'd have nothing at this golf course. Nothing. We would have none of the programs that we've established. And so I think that's my point is I think we have to control what we can control moving forward. Now, 2 years from now, if we have better information in terms of finances that we can make a more serious contribution to the town in covering expenses, that's fine. But I mean, that's why it's a living document.
Yep. Okay. I want to make sure I captured this, John, correctly. Okay. Financial view. I'm just want to build on this, John, because I don't want to lose this point. What I've highlighted here. Is that stated accurately, John?
Yeah, I don't know if that goes into our vision, though.
It doesn't, John. I'm just keeping a note of this. I don't want to lose that thought. That's all.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. It does not. However, when we set up short-term goals and objectives, then it could be this is for short-term.
Well, I don't know if it even has to be a short-term goal. I think that's just something that Roman and Clem have to invite the finance director to a meeting, and we come prepared with all the questions that we want to have in terms of what our involvement is in the town finances.
Okay. Okay. And I'm not going to put that in the vision statement. Just that it's an action item, John.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. Okay, 3 and 4. Anything? We're running short on time now. Anything else you see on 3 and 4, which has a vast majority of the stuff that's in versions 1 and 2. You can see how many words are there. By the way, they're in parentheses.
Yeah.
We'll work on that. Anything else in there you think that we don't have now that we want to shoot for in 5 years?
Yeah, John, one last thing perhaps, because you mentioned it, and it's very intriguing. I mean, it's always been kind of a mystery to me, but when you talk about ratings and acknowledgments as far as accolades are concerned with regards to Cranberry Valley, it's kind of understood, yeah, we're one of the top courses on the Cape, et cetera, but I'd be interested in how formally, not just the USGA, but even the MGA, John, how the ranking of municipal facilities is done, because I think that would be worthy of us to see exactly or try to figure out exactly where we are. And because it's measurable, are we in the top 3? Are we the top, could we become, in fact, the top dog as far as southeastern Massachusetts is concerned? It's just a thought.
Are you talking to me?
I can answer a little bit of that, Clem. I know Mass Golf doesn't rank golf courses. I mean, that's usually a publication like Golf Magazine, Golf Digest. You need to get one of those marketing. So, we have engaged Golf Magazine, so we're on their list for ratings. So any of their approved raters have us as an available golf course to rate. And then I think I brought this to the golf committee like 2 years ago that we would allow raters to play for just a cart fee. So we have had some raters. Golf Digest, I reached out to them and they did not yet put us on their rating list. But you have to kind of select who you're trying to pursue to rate you. There are more local ones that I'd hate to say it's more of a pay per play thing. New England Golf Monthly, you have to advertise with them to get in their rankings, and the more you advertise with them, the higher you rank. So we used to rank highly with them. I've diverted that advertising money elsewhere because it's more of a buy your ranking. The rankings can be a little fickle unless you're going for the big ones in the golf industry, which are Golf Digest and Golf Magazine and Golf Week. And I have reached out to engage their raters. And like I said, I think we're on all of them except Golf Digest at this point.
Roman, question for you.
Yes.
A question for you. The fact that we got the Mass Juniors and tournaments like that to be held at Cranberry, would that be considered in some realm award-winning?
I definitely think so. I mean, I think that, you know, I mean, it's funny we're discussing this. John Crook is the tournament, I won't get your title right, John, but the tournament director or the tournament chairperson for Mass Golf. It's very prestigious, and so to land one of the state majors is very prestigious, and that doesn't go to anybody. And I think in my discussions with the Mass Golf folks, a lot of that goes to not just our golf course, but our relationship. That they know that when they come to Cranberry Valley, they know what to expect. They know what to expect with our staff and our, you know, integrating into our operations. So I think that, you know, we're accomplishing that already by landing those big tournaments. When they come, we create a successful event, so they want to come back.
I think Mass Golf is really a big supporter of Cranberry Valley, because every time that we've had a tournament here, to Roman's point, they've been completely satisfied with the cooperation that we received at Cranberry Valley, and they want to have as many events here as possible, as many events that we're willing to have, and I think we reach out and try to accommodate some of their schedules too. So I think it's a good partnership that we have right now with Cranberry Valley and Mass Golf.
Okay.
I don't think I would call that award-winning, but I think that does add to prestigious. I think, you know, some of those fluff words, if you said prestigious, I know it's not measurable, but I think that if Mass Golf comes to us annually for big events and we run some of their majors, I think that makes us prestigious, or adds to the prestige.
Okay.
Point well taken.
Roman, I got a lot of
Okay,
data to
John.
work with here.
Okay.
And what I'd like to do with this, if I could, is I'm going to try to boil this down to something, and I'm going to separate out things that I think what might fall under what I will call goals and objectives from stuff that is more futuristic and vision oriented. And then I'll send that out to you in draft form, okay, for you guys. So it's going to be a restatement of something like this, okay. Something like that format with the other stuff down below it, and then get your reaction to it, and then we'll build from there. Start doing some wordsmithing next month.
Great. It's a great
That's
process,
fair.
John.
Well,
And,
thank you very much, and again, thank you so much for your active engagement in this process. It's really helping to move it forward.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
good job, John.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
John, very good. Okay, folks, you know, the input is certainly appreciated. And if you noticed on the agenda, under new business, both Roman, I believe, members of the Board of Selectmen as well, have been approached by Mr. Jason Laramie, who heads up the booster organization within the town of Harwich. And this goes back months ago. At the time that Roman proposed our calendar, we scrutinized that very heavily, and I asked for input from each one of you, and we made a decision. And it was simply this. Unfortunately, the tornado wave weighed in, so did COVID, and we made a decision that on Columbus Day weekend, the Harwich Booster Group would not be able to use or utilize that weekend opportunity this year. And it was a unanimous decision. I'd like to reinforce that decision on behalf of the committee, and also note that, you know, if you think about it, this committee has given direction to a lot of charitable groups and organizations. We've accommodated firemen, policemen, the military, and we've been enormously successful in that respect. There's a fine balance between the fact that, yes, we're a business, and yes, we have to be sensitive to the needs of the community, but the bottom line is this: it's a weekend with enormous pressure now on us operationally, and I think we made a good, not just business decision, but a good decision for the town. And Roman did not shut the door on the ability for this group to pick another date. So I don't know if you people have a strong recollection of that, but you know, I'm adamant. I just don't think that it necessitates a change in direction at this point in time. In fact, and I would guess that sales of tea times have actually, you know, moved into the area of that particular weekend, and that automatically puts it out of play anyway. But I just thought I'd apprise you of this. You know, there were numerous conversations, I guess, within a small group of people that they were shocked and appalled that the committee could be so insensitive. And I think quite to the contrary, the committee was very sensitive as far as the big picture is concerned. So I hope we're still all in agreement. I solicit your comments. I don't want to give this a lot of time. I want to get to John's issues and Martha, the scorecard, and you know, rating issues that come later under old business. So any comments, people?
Clem, going back to what, when Roman brought this issue up and we all talked about it, and I think collectively as a group, we all came to the decision that was the best thing for Cranberry Valley, particularly this year, in light of all that we face. And I think we should all stand by that decision.
Yeah, thank you. You know, another point too is that, you know, and I think I mentioned this to Roman, next year is another year. The COVID wave may have hopefully eclipsed, and that, you know, we're looking at a different kind of future, you know, for 2022. Hard to believe that it's already 2022, but, you know, that's why, you know, I think those people should be heartened by the fact that, you know, we showed flexibility when we allowed them to have that tournament on that particular weekend. And, you know, we can be just as flexible going forward. But as far as this year's concerned, we made the decision, and I think it's appropriate to stick with it.
I think one guiding principle we should have, though, moving forward, that if we're going to have an outing, it should not be on one of the busiest weekends of the year. I mean, if they want to pick a date where they have it on a Thursday afternoon or something, that's fine. But I mean, Columbus Day weekend is going to be a big revenue generator for us at Cranberry Valley. And I don't think we should be giving up the golf course where we're not maximizing our revenues.
Any other comments?
Yeah,
Okay.
with John, Clem, I think we should shy away from allowing any group to have an outing on a holiday weekend. I think that should be a general guideline or a general practice.
Okay, you know, I think that's worthy of, actually, if we have to do it, we have to do it. But, you know, maybe, Jack, we can craft a policy to address this issue with, you know, with specifics. And, you know, that's something that we can look at in the future. Okay, with that said, I'd like to go on to old business. And basically, I asked John to look at short-term goals in relationship to our strategic plan. And, you know, this doesn't have to be done expressly tonight, but John, if you have any insights you'd like to share, the floor is yours.
Well, in terms of the generic strategic plan that we put together, the goals really haven't changed that much. They still are what they are. What I have to do, and I can do this for the next meeting or meeting after that, is we have to get a little bit more specific in terms of what the goals are actually going to be. And the ones that we have down there right now are pretty generic, but there's no specificity to those particular goals, Clem.
Yeah. Well, I think the specifics are important, and especially where, you know, as COVID winds down, as I said, hopefully, you know, we can match up, Roman, you know, the short-term goals and how they interface with our capital plan as well, because, you know, it's already here. The focus on our irrigation upgrades it's here, and it's right around the corner. So, John, I appreciate that. Roman, have you got anything you'd like to throw in?
No, I think I'd like to, you know, prepare some information, go, you know, prepare possibly at our next committee meeting, our priorities list that we've been working off of. And I think, as you mentioned, Clem, you know, what we've been doing officially is saving money for the big irrigation upgrade in FY26, I believe, off the top of my head. What we really need to do is get some firm numbers on what that's going to cost. And then once we get those firm numbers, because I think Rainbird has loosely told us, you know, it'd be between $500,000 and $600,000. But we need more firm numbers. The finance director has told me once we get those firm numbers, she'll prepare a debt schedule for us, and we've discussed a 5-year bond possibly to pay that. And so I think that once we get some specificity to those numbers, that'll allow us to do some further planning. I also think that you know, we have that $68,000 annually in our capital budget, and so you know, that's dedicated specifically to tees, tree work, and car path work. And I know we have a number of car paths on there, so I think it'd be helpful to us to separating that away from our golf improvement fund. Let's dedicate, you know, I don't like to dedicate the entire $68,000 because that fund is like for this year what we bought the stump grinder out of. That's money that's important to have some flexibility with. But say we dedicated $40,000 of it every year to specifics as far as tees and car path work. And, you know, we've got the Mark Mungem tee plan, we've got the Mark Mungem car path plan. So maybe next month, let's start putting some specifics to say in FY22, this is what we want to do for car paths. And the Mark Mungem plan is very helpful in that it actually spells out exactly how many linear feet each hole requires. And I can give us a price on how much the going rate is per linear foot. So we could put some pretty good prices to that stuff. So I think it's a discussion that's necessary. Let's further it next month.
Okay. Thank you, Roman. And that brings us, people, to the last item of old business. The scorecard purchasing and course rating protocols, they more or less go together. And Roman, you know, maybe you could speak to that. And Martha, I know that you had some concerns, and I believe you people have had some dialogue together to reach some kind of an understanding. So Roman or Martha,
Yes.
Whoever would like to start.
I'll handle this, Martha, if that's all right.
Yes, go ahead, Roman.
Okay, and then feel free to jump in anytime or after. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Clem. So this issue was discussed at last golf committee meeting. I apologize if there was any information I gave there that may be not up to date, because it kind of caught me off guard. And after doing some research this month on stroke allocation, I realized that under the new World Handicap System, the USGA is endorsing an entirely new system. And this is brand new for stroke allocation. And that, for those of you that don't know the terminology, that's the actual stroke holes on the scorecard. We also discussed the golf course rating, and I'm having these discussions at the same time as I am with the committee and with Martha. I'm having them with the Women's Golf Association of Cranberry Valley. I reached out to the Mass Golf rating team, and our rating is currently certified, it's current, it's in effect, and it's not due for another rating. So there's no issue there. We're currently, our ratings are what they are, and we're not due for a re-rating. So as we were rated in 2017. But the stroke allocation is something we do in-house, and as you mentioned, Clem, we do it when we print our scorecards. So after doing some research on the new World Golf Handicap System and the USGA's endorsement of it, I reached out to Mass Golf and got the exact data we need from their course rating that shows us the difficulty level of each hole, and that basically tells us the optimum way we should allocate strokes on our scorecard. And I think it's an improvement to our scorecard. As I told Martha, I've reached out to the Women's Golf Association with the exact data. I presented it to them, and I'd really like to get their endorsement of this program of re-stroking the holes. And then I was going to ask you at the meeting tonight, Jack, you're still the president of the Men's Association, aren't you?
Yep.
Okay, so I'll send you the same data, and I'll look for the exact same thing. If you want to share it with your committees, Jack, I'll share with you the Mass Golf data that says under the World Handicap System what our strokes the method they would recommend for allocating our strokes. And I'd like to get the endorsement from each of those bodies before I mean, I don't think it's right for us just to make a decision on our own and just do it. I'd rather have the leagues endorse the process. And if I get that endorsement, then I'll schedule changing the stroke holes when we reorder the scorecards. As I told Martha, I believe I'll be reordering scorecards not until the new fiscal year, because that's when I have it in the budget to do it, which would be July, because we've already allocated our funding for scorecards for this year. But that's what we discussed. If you'd like to add anything, Martha?
Martha?
This was a lot of discussion on the slope rating and re-handicapping, re-rating the holes. Because if we look back in the last 3-4 years, as I shared with Roman, there's been a lot of changes with new tee boxes. And I can only say from the red that we have a number of holes that have new distances. And as I shared with Roman, I'm a little disappointed that we can't re-rate the course according to what we have. You know, if we talk about that we're a premier course, I think it's important to the integrity of the course that the slope be correct and the re-handicapping of the holes be correct. So that's all I have to say.
Roman, you said
Okay,
2017
any
we
other
were re-rated. When are we set to have another re-rating?
In general, the general rule from Mass Golf and from the USGA is every 10 years, or if there's any major changes to the golf course. So if we choose to take on some of these tee projects that may get us an appointment with Mass Golf, if I reach out to them and say, we've got some significant changes to the golf course and yardages, please schedule us for a re-rating. That would be appropriate, but at this time, they do not consider us, they consider our rating certified in effect and not due for a re-rating.
Okay.
Any other comments?
Well, Roman, have you, just a personal observation, the red tees seem like they're long for many of the women. Have you considered something of the nature of adding another, quote, set of tees, say a combination of red and green that might not be as long?
Well, you know, I think we should have that discussion. What we did was we created the green tee set, which I think, you know, it's funny. I think this is a conversation, Jack, we need to have. And if it's next month, we're going to discuss our priorities. Like I said, we're going to have money to add some tee boxes, but we created the red tees, and they're not, I mean, I'm sorry, the green tees in 2017, and they're really not used very much. Even so, our Women's Golf Association, they played a little bit off them. They chose to just go back and do exclusively their red tees. And even our 9-hole women's group, they alternate weeks where they do the green one week, the red the next week. So they're not very widely used. And whenever we discuss following Mark Munjum's tee plan, which a lot of his recommendations were for a shorter golf course, you know, you can put all the money you want into forward tees. if our Women's Golf Association still wants to play a red tee golf course, I don't know if it's money well spent. I think we should really, before we look into anything like that, we should reach out to the leadership of the Women's Golf Association and resend them the Mark Mungem tee plan, and which is fantastic. It's got diagrams on it. You've all seen it. It's got diagrams. It's got descriptions on every hole. And until they really endorse and say, yes, we want to play this golf course, or, you know, if we did build this, we would play it. You know, I would hesitate to take on a large project, because his entire project, we estimated at about $250,000. So, you know, they like their red tees, and I've had many discussions with them. As Martha says, you know, the rating aside, I'm not going to say they love their rating, but they like the play from the red tees, and we built the greens and we encouraged play on them, and the women's leadership had many days where they encouraged a play from those green tee sets, and they've chosen to go back to playing from the reds. They like to play from the red tee set. So, you know, maybe the full Mark Mungem tee plan would be more enticing and a better golf course, but I would want to get their feedback that yes, that is something we want to pursue before we dedicate $250,000 to that project or head in that direction.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting any expenditures. I assume there's some green tees now, and it's just some of the holes were probably prohibitively long for women golfers. I mean, I've moved up to the silver tees on a regular basis, and it makes a big difference in my enjoyment of the game. And there's like, you know, blue, white, silver, red, but there's no shorter. I guess if you go to green, that maybe that's the only. Is there some combination of red and green that might be more appealing to them? I don't know, but if they're adamant about playing off the reds, and I think you said the rating has been certified, then that's fine.
Yeah, you know, so we built the 7 new tee boxes in 2017 that were the longest holes. I can't remember if these were the holes that were specifically pointed out by the USGA data loggers as being the holes where the women weren't reaching. I'd have to go back and look and see why we particularly identified those. They may have been the most identified holes by Mark Mungem in his tee plan. But we built those, so those on the 7 longest holes for the women, there are forward tees.
And if you make those 7 long holes plus the 11 other holes, there's no rating for that combination, correct?
Yeah, that's the green tee combination, and there is a rating for it. So the green tee course is the 11 red tee boxes with the 7 new tee boxes. That's the green tee rating.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that.
Roman, because you referenced that Mungem report, Martha, I think for your group or for the men especially too, let's double check because we can post that Mungem report. I thought it was already up there.
It is up there, Clem. It's on the town website, on the golf committee website.
That's what I thought. Okay. With no further discussion, I think we can move to the public comment. And Mr. Laramie, if I ignored you, I didn't know that you were there actually, because my frame, I'm trying to conserve energy on my laptop. Would you like to speak to the group?
That would be great. Thank you. Hi, Jason Laramie, resident of Harwich, and I know I had spoken with Roman about getting the Monomoy Boosters golf tournament, the rejection or the non-approval of the Columbus Day date revisited. I'm on the Monomoy Golf Committee and the Boosters. I have 4 kids in town, and I actually work in the golf industry as well. And my my history shows me that when you move your tournaments from their initial day that's been approved for the last 3 or 4 years, minus the COVID year, it's very difficult to be successful and continue on being successful, trying to pick another date. So I know that there's one other tournament, I'm not here to speak for them, but I know there was one other tournament that did not get their same date, and I really wanted the committee to reevaluate the moving of that date that we had selected. I know it's the day before rates go down for the off season. It does look like I actually was under the assumption when the date was turned down that all the tournaments had not gotten their same dates for 2021, but it's come to knowledge that it looks like most of them were approved for the same date except for Monomoy Boosters. And with the fact that being a town-owned golf course, it is an event that it's our biggest fundraiser, and because it affects the local kids of the Harwich community, I was hoping the committee would reconsider allowing us to hold that date. And on top of that, while we were revisiting the topic, it does look like when I was looking at the meeting packet from December, that there are multiple groups that also get their green fees waived at Cranberry Valley throughout the year. 2 of those groups being in June and July. And I don't know specifically what groups those are. It looks like one of them is the New England Junior PGA. And being in the golf industry, I think obviously promoting cost-effective ways to get kids to play golf at a young age and promoting that type of event is tremendous, and I commend Cranberry Valley for doing that. But I would also like the committee to give the Monomoy Boosters tournament the same treatment, and possibly looking at waiving the green fees for that tournament as well. I know you do give us a reduced rate, but because this actually impacts the local community and the immediate community of the kids of Monomoy and Harwich, and it is the town-owned golf course, I would be thrilled if the committee would reevaluate not giving us the Columbus Day date and looking into possibly having us pay for range fee and green and cart fees for that day as well.
Mr. Laramie, unfortunately, about 25 minutes ago, because I try to keep us specific to the agenda, under new business, we discussed this, and the committee emphatically, supported the decision that it made prior. And if there's any solace at all, next year is another year, and planning wise, we'd be open to possibilities of, discussing some of the points that you've raised. But, based on the profile of events and tournaments that we had approved, we have to stay with the course we've charted. So I'm sorry that.
What is the reason going to stay with the? And I apologize, I missed it earlier. I had been in and I got bounced twice for whatever reason, and then I was able to come back in towards the end here. But what was the reasoning in turning down a local group that is with I'm a taxpayer, my kids benefit from this, and it's a town-owned golf course. So it's the fact that it got revisited and voted down again. And I don't know the reasoning, and I guess I'll go back and I'll listen to the meeting. But that's almost more disappointing than it getting voted down the first time.
Well, it's unfortunate that you feel that way, but basically we've underscored this. We did not create this COVID situation. That was paramount in our decision making. Before the start of this calendar year, and because of the demands on the golf operation as such, it seems pretty consistent, as far as the direction we're taking for the future. That was a primary focus, and we've also the possibility of sales of tee times, because that tournament was not on that weekend. The fact that that's been in the works automatically subtracts the weekend to be available as well. And I don't think the boosters should take it personally. We accommodate a wide range of groups, Mr. Laramie, within this community, police and fire. And in fact, we've accommodated the boosters, and I understand your perspective. We've had this tournament successfully on that weekend for the last few years. And, Roman, we try to work with him specifically. He had, generously acknowledged that, that would be a possibility. But in fact, and you can go back and look at the meeting tonight, Mr. Conley referenced the fact that it's just, Mr. Laramie, it's just not practical to have group outings on marquee weekends. It'd be analogous to, let's say, Labor Day weekend or July 4th weekend.
It's not quite as busy as those weekends. Maybe this past year, but it's the last day. It's also a Monday. It's not a Saturday or Sunday. So it's extremely disappointing. We also have kids that participate in the outing, volunteering and playing. So now that you bring school into play, those kids that have been able to participate and help try to raise money for their programs or their sports, you're basically telling them that they're not going to be able to help to participate because we got to pick a different day that's a little more conducive to you guys. I'm just curious then. It's not a blanket policy for all tournaments. You're literally singling out two other groups that happen to be local, Monomoy Boosters being one of them. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, Roman.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood the question, but I think that I think the committee's decision is strictly the holiday. And the discussion when they discussed it earlier, 25 minutes or so ago, was strictly about, they even discussed having a policy of no tournaments on holiday weekends. And so it's got nothing, the actual group had nothing to do with the discussion other than not having an outing on the holiday.
Yeah, it's a day that you guys have approved in the past, and you would think that even if you change your policy going forward, that you would at least have the decency to possibly grandfather in the groups that a group like us who had planned on that date in the past with no issues.
You're 7 months in advance of the tournament. Are you saying that much lead time wouldn't allow you to get out the word that your new tournament or your tournament's on a different date?
It's the date works for us, and my experience is, Mr. Connolly, is that when you have a charitable tournament or event and you pick a date and that's the date you have year after year, that's how it becomes successful, is keeping it on that date. When you start to move those dates to other days, other things come into play and you tend to lose people, and it may not be as successful. Can it be? Possibly, but it's the date that we've had for a few years, and it's worked for us. So the ideal scenario is to keep the date, and I'm sure you probably have heard, maybe you haven't, but we have been able to secure a date at a different golf course, but that's beside the point. On that specific day, the hope is to be able to hold it locally at the golf course on the date that we have in the past. And like I said, it's extremely disappointing that the committee has decided to not allow this tournament to go forward this year. When you tell us to go ahead and we'll revisit again next year, I mean, it's just it's extremely disappointing. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that are disappointed in the committee's decision as well.
Okay, any other comments from the committee? Any other comments from the public? I see that we have several members of the general public as well.
It's Ken Dixon, if I could.
I'm sorry.
Ken Dixon. Right here. Can you not hear me?
Sorry, I missed you.
Clem, this is Ken Dixon. I just want to make a comment relative to the finances. And Roman, the reason there's not a clear message to the membership is because it doesn't sound to me like there's even a clear message to the committee whether the golf course makes money or not. Because the newspaper said we made $500,000. They want to privatize it. Some guy's running a campaign for a village hall to privatize the golf course. I just think it'd be really important to get a full accountability so we know whether or not we're actually making money or losing money.
You know, what I would say, Clem, I'd refer Ken to the town director of finance's town budget. It's right on the front page of the website. It goes department by department with fully allocated costs, and that's presented at the town meeting. That's all part of the town meeting packet. So, you know, there is some frustration as far as predicting those numbers, as far as the indirect costs go. It's difficult on our side of things to project what the town's going to allocate for cost to us. But it is in the public realm, in the town finance department, its finance director's annual budget.
How much did we lose last year, Roman?
Oh, that's all right. That's a good question. I don't have that. I think what you could find is in the FY22 budget package, which is currently on the front page of the town website. It would have forward-looking projections.
And that would be, are we losing money again for that projection, Roman?
Well, I think what I would say is, if you're looking at the fully allocated costs, which include all the employee benefits, as far as post-employment benefits, which, you know, in municipalities are very large numbers, previous debt, and all the other debt, and then the allocations to other departments that the town utilizes, such as the legal fees and such. Yeah, they have us projected with a red number. Yes.
I'm not doing a good job of asking the question. How big is that red number, Roman?
Shoot, I don't want to quote it. I'd have to pull that up in front of me. I don't have that in front of me.
So
what I do know is, you know, I could very much generalize and say FY19, that was our last normal year, pre-COVID, pre-tornado and such. We generated $1.89 million. Our direct budgetary costs were 1.46 or so. I think the town would say, once you have the fully allocated costs, our fully allocated costs were probably like 2.1 million to 2.2 million when you count previous debt, which goes all the way back to the year 2000. So I would say in FY19, our last normal year, when you take all of those numbers into account, we were probably in the red, $200,000.
Thank you. Clem, the only other suggestion I would have is that I'm thinking about Mr. Laramie, even though he got cut off a couple of times. I realize that you only allow public comment at the end. I've attended other virtual meetings where the public can comment while the topic is still valid before a vote is taken. I just would think, I'd ask you to take that maybe under advisement.
Thank you, Ken. And Ken, just one other insight that I think might be helpful. You know, the financial complexities in the municipal world they're challenging. And to put some perspective on the past 5, almost 10 years, you know, that I've been directly involved, you know, once again, we had our annual meeting with the Finance Committee, the Selectmen, all right, and Capital Outlay. And, you know, unanimously across the board, their satisfaction with our operation and the monies that are accrued versus expenses are totally consistent with the positive message that's endorsed by the Chief Financial Officer of the town. So I know the accounting is a mystery, but they seem to be very satisfied with what we're doing currently and the way we're organized as a business. So I would leave you with that. You know, that's the best of my recollection. Was that, Roman, I think we met either in late February or early March, I believe.
Yeah, that's our annual meeting with the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen. That occurs every early March to certify our budget that's going to go to town meeting.
Thank you.
You know,
I guess one last comment I'd like to direct to Mr. Laramie. You said that you've secured another golf course for that date, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, but yes, we've had another golf course that is going to give us that same exact date. And it's just disappointing that our own town-owned golf course for a tournament that is the biggest fundraiser for the local kids of this community, that this committee is refusing to honor the date that they have in the past. I think that is, it's beyond words of description right now is the way I feel about it. As a parent and as a taxpayer, it's super frustrating and disappointing.
Well, I would just counsel you with one comment. To Jack's point, I mean, you're 7 months away from a potential tournament date, and you know, it's been your experience, and you referenced the fact it's your experience that moving dates is problematic. But I think you've got enough time. I mean, if you wanted to work with Roman and look at another date, another possible date, you know, that there might be something that you've overlooked. You could share that with your own group. You know, I would be interested in how they respond.
I just, like I said, I'm in the golf industry, and when a group has a charity tournament and they pick a weekend, usually that weekend, the day they have that tournament, the golf director or whoever's in charge will say, do you want to secure the date for next year? And usually most people say yes, and you secure that date and you keep that date and you move that date going forward and forward. You don't usually have a group, you don't have a group come back and say, by the way, I know this worked out for you this year, but we're not going to let you have that date next year, so forget it. And you're basically telling us to go to a different golf course, which is in a nutshell. I mean, that's the way I'm viewing it. That's the way the committee is viewing it. That's the way a lot of the people in the town view it and parents view it. And like I said, it's very, very disappointing and discouraging. And it's not a topic that I think is going to go away anytime soon.
Okay. Any other comments? People, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, thank you, John. Seconded by Martha Duffy. People, thanks for your participation, and we look forward to seeing everybody in May. I believe it's May 18th. I'd have to check my agenda.
May 18th.
For the next, yeah, it's May 18th, gang, and thank you very much. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.